Almost forgot to add this section where I display the adapters hooked up. This is the host with one bridged NIC and one set to the VMnet 10, which is set to host only. I'll show the client's adapter, both of those. I will show the virtual network settings for VMnet 10, which are not assigning DHCP and set to the correct subnet. All of that there. It'll also show how to back up and restore the virtual machines. Hello, this is my screencast for Assignment 3 for Linux networking. In this demonstration, I'll be displaying I have successfully configured my client and server connection, a properly configured DHCP, NFS, centralized logging, NTP, all according to the criteria. I'll be explaining all the commands I used and what they do, and that they have been run. So the command I used on the server to install the DHCP server was dnf install DHCP server, and then I went down and can check the DHCP etc file where I put in all this to specify where everything's going to be going. I then can show the same thing over here. On the client, there's nothing on that one, just showing that. I can show the DHCP daemon status. You can see it's running. You can see all that. Ports there. DHCP requests from the client. I'll just show real quick the IP of the server. 192.168.9.2 and the IP of the client, which is 192.168.9.21, which is in the specified range that was supposed to be between 21 and 30. I can now go back to the server and run ps aux grep dhcpd. You can see there it is. When I was setting this up, the commands that I used were to allow it through the firewall were firewall cmd add service DHCP permanent, and then I reloaded the firewall with firewall cmd reload. Those are the commands I use there. I'll just run a netstat peont grepping for DHCP. You can see on the UDP there, it's listening on 871. On the NFS section, I'll move on to. I did the dnf install NFS utils to install that package there, and then I used the export fs-a and restarted to push that out, and I'll run export fs-v now, and it'll show a public share that I created there. And then just scrolling down, I will go over here to the client and show mount E192.168.9.2. You can see the public share is mounted there in the client. And then I'll run the dfh. You can see This is in the client. It is mounted on a mount point I created, mount public share, specifically for this. And then I'll just do listing. Can just show what is in there. It's a test file that I made. I'll just go back over to the server. You can see the test file is right there as well, shared between both. So now I'll show a bit of the logging. So I used our syslog for this. So I'll just run nano etc syslog config and just show this whole file. Had to uncomment a few things in here near the top for allowing some of these through for ports. I'll now run stat piont grep 514 and shows UDP with our syslog on that. I allowed it through the firewall with the same command I used earlier, firewall-cmd-add port equals 514/UDP permanent, and reset the firewall with reload. The client config of the etc r syslog conf. This one required this line at the bottom to be added so it can, send the logs on server 1. I can also go back to the server and run tail f var log messages, and should be able to see here. Missed a spot there. I'll just go over here and type logger n16892, and I'll just do testing logger functionality, and then I can go back over here and you can see right here at the bottom it received the log from the client. I guess I'll now move on to the NTP configuration. So I'll just go over to the etc crony.config file. You can see here at right there, allow NTP clients from local network, allowing the 9.2 to go through. Close that, and I'll run crony c sources. Let's see, those restarted. I had removed them, but if I go over here to the client and run crony or nano slash etc crony dot config, you can see at the top there's the server it's grabbing it from, allowing the crony to work, and then I'll run crony c sources again. You can see the only one on there for this one is the server IP. I'll now run crony c tracking. You can see the time. It's in UTC, but it is accurate. And time date CL, time date CTL. There you go. So for the backup portion, these are the Rocky Linux host and client VMs, both in the virtual machines folder I made for VMware. And if I were to move them over to Google Drive and upload them there, I could then delete both um, virtual machines from my VMware. I could then right click New Virtual Machine, go through the options and select all of the proper um, options. And then when I get up to the point where it asks for this, use an existing virtual disk, I would then go in here and select the disk file wherever that may be. I can also should be able to drag them in from wherever these files would be back into the virtual machine file. I'm not going to demonstrate that actually because when I was doing one of Brandon's assignments, I almost bricked my VMware and it wouldn't allow me to create new VMs. So just to avoid any possible risk, um, I'll just explain verbally like that. Hopefully that is sufficient enough.